Everyone, good evening. It is 6 o'clock here on September the 3rd, 2024. I will call the meeting to order. Let the record reflect that we have Alderman Carter present, Alderman Wood present, and Alderman Morgan present, Alderman Reeves and Alderman Maynard are absent. And therefore, we will not have a quorum tonight with three board members here and myself. So we won't be able to act on any particular business, but the good thing tonight is we don't really have any major actionable item that we have to attend to too much. So we'll have some discussion tonight, so we should be okay. And if you'll please stand with me for an invocation.
Yes, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all the blessings of life. Dear Heavenly Father, as we go back conducting business of our city, we just pray that you be with us, give us the guidance that we need in making our decisions. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As I mentioned, as we get started tonight, that we don't have a quorum. I went back and looked at our charter once again and made a few phone calls. And our charter states that you have to have 4 members of the board present to establish a quorum. However, in section 12 of our charter, the mayor does have an opportunity to vote on each question. But as I understand it, that I'm not part of the initial quorum. I just have an opportunity to vote. So on any question that comes to the table. So we won't be able to take any action on anything tonight, but I think most everything here we've already taken action on. So we'll get started. Board members, y'all have any questions about what I just said about not having a quorum tonight? So the October meeting will be very important, and I know Alderman Reeve had a last minute issue, and Alderman Maynard did tell me in advance, and so I didn't realize Alderman Reeve's going to be out till today. So anyway. So public comments section, we do have one person that signed in. Does anyone else want a public comment? Anyone else? Okay, hearing none. Ms. Rhonda Abel, I'll turn it over to you for a moment.
I'm just here to formally request permission to use the gazebo for a craft fair. I was told by the mayor that I should just ask permission so that it's, official.
Yeah, so this is a public property issue, and so when we use public property, we need to make sure that people get permission to use that public property depending on what they're doing. And so she has asked me to give her the permission to put together a small craft fair on what date?
The 13th or 14th of September.
14th of September, that's a Saturday, using the farmer's market gazebo by Main Street, or that inner courtyard where the water fountain is in Main Street. Still working on some of that product. So as the executive officer of the city, I will approve that unless members of the board have an objection to that. But she's here formally asking to use that property, and it will be for profit because, that's what they do craft fairs for, to sell their artwork and craft and things like that. So if y'all don't have any objection to that, y'all have any questions for her or anything?
What are the hours going to be?
Noon to 6.
Y'all okay with that? Okay, so Ms. Abel, as the executive officer of the town, I will approve you to take that activity there and just kind of keep me informed. And the reason that we ask for approval is for our liability. If someone just goes up there and we don't know they're there and they're trying to put on a little program or something, that it's going to fall back on us either way. So knowing that we are giving someone permission to use it, they'll be covered, and any people who attend will be covered under our liability insurance. So it's best for the city in that case. So you have any additional questions, anything like that? Good luck to you. I hope you have some people come out. That's the weekend prior to Riverdale, I think, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I hope you have some people come out and have a good weather for that event. So thank you for being here tonight. I don't have any others. Before you, members of the board, you've either picked up your packet prior to the meeting or have received it in an email. And you should have some minutes in that packet. Unfortunately, I know you've read them, but we're not going to be able to act and approve these minutes tonight. So that will be delayed until the next meeting. That will be October 1st. October 1st board meeting, we'll review the minutes and we'll discuss those and make votes and any additions that we need to make on those. So any questions from the board on that? Well, all right, we'll move right ahead. New business. Actually, the only new business is the park grant budget amendment. And I put it in here as a park grant budget amendment. You received this. If you remember way back, we did a park plan. We got that taken care of, had a lot of community input. Then we applied for a park grant. It had parts A and B. So we sent that into the state with our partners and our consultants from Southwest. And so what we were funded, as you saw in the paper this last week, we were funded for, I believe it was part A. That will be the city park behind the school and community center. So they gave us the $44,000 matching grant. So way back when we started this, we said we'd apply $65,000 to a match for both parks, and we had plans A and B in there. They didn't provide funding for both A and B. Matter of fact, just the backstory on it, I've been on some webinars as the mayor has to do to when all these grants go on, and I got a little pushback from the state on trying to do too much too fast, especially after they've reviewed our plan and noticed all the ADA compliant issues we have. And they and our consultant from Southwest really pushed us to say, look, if you got enough money approved, you might just want to reduce it. They said the problem is that across the state and all the park grants they've been receiving, a lot of people are going way over budget just because cost of things when you originally started have gone way up. And so some people have been as much as 50% over budget on these park grants, LPRF park grants. So in the discussions and webinars and all the action with the consultant and the state, that we're spend that part A in that park plan. Not to say we won't ever do part B, but they funded part A. And so Lincoln Park won't have any immediate action because everything's got to be, once we start this grant, everything that's not ADA compliant, like play equipment, has got to be removed, okay? So if you look at this letter that I'm going to have to submit back to the state on the changes, a couple things you should know: professional fees. Saltillo doesn't administer its own grants most of the time. We pay Southwest Development to deal with these grants and do all the right, make sure we get all the appropriate things done. So you see that budget is there, has been revised from seven, it didn't really change there. Non-personnel issues, you see that that's moving to capital purchase because we're going to reduce the in-kind expense. And so our maintenance guys will actually do the work on the demolition and moving stuff out of there. And we originally had in our budget like $5,000 way back when we started this. It's not going to take them that much time and that much money to remove those things. And then you'll see the capital changes with the match, $73,300 to $83,400. We've asked the state to just round it up to $44,000. That will come from the ARPA funds. And of course, everything that goes in a park that we're running into for ADA compliance is not all in the grant because they don't fund certain things. So some signage for the handicap parking, readjustment of the handicap parking, and a few other things that we'll have to pay out of pocket. And so we've already approved, quite a bit of money for the parks, but this is what's being submitted to the state, and it is a reduction in the overall project that we originally started with. Page 2, it shows you a little bit more detail about what was changed and what was added. We are foregoing the cost of a engineer for this project, because we're not building a brand new park, we're replacing equipment. And so, I think we've got everything covered on the specifications, and, you know, the parking lot stuff is gonna be easy to handle. So we're really not gonna need a full-fledged engineer, which, my conference a couple of days ago with an engineer was like $7,500, and maybe a little less, so we're kind of saving us a little expense on that. So do y'all have any questions about the park plan, the park budget, the revised, letter from the state and our consultant?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
We had said that, we had estimated $5,000 for in-kind, or however you wanna say that. How did that drop to 900?
Yeah,
What can we
because,
do for 900?
well,
How much
we're-
work is that?
well, it's not a lot of work, and that's part of the point. So the in-kind work that we could find that we could do on our own is removing the broken down equipment and the stuff that's not ADA compliant, swing sets and things like that. So we pay 2 guys on the clock 3 days a week to work for the city. So as we approach October, they're not gonna have a lot of grass cutting to do. So they'll be able to focus more of their attention on the park. So that $5,000 we thought earlier, we thought we were gonna be able to cover some donation of a gravel, a donation of somebody's skid steer that was gonna help us do some work up there, using our own truck and our own gas to haul stuff off. They won't let us count some of that as in kind. So, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so for the $900, we'll be removing the chip, we'll be removing the swing sets, we'll be removing that, other little playground thing, and what else?
That's it, the play equipment. That's what we're removing.
So for $900, we're removing all those things,
Yeah.
and that's all that's all that we've estimated the time, or who come up with
Yeah.
900?
Well, I come up with the time by estimating how many hours it would take our 2 maintenance workers to take all this stuff out. And working with our consultants and thinking about what we can do in the conference calls that we've had, they told me some of the things we were gonna count, like our fuel, hauling our stuff off, all that kind of stuff, that we can't count some of that. So we got back to just an hourly rate on the demolition part of it. And so that's what we've come up with for 2 people, $13 an hour.
Have we, and it may not even be feasible, but, selling that chip,
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is an actionable item for next month. The first thing we gotta do is remove it from the park. So we can remove it from the park and put it any place else right now. But if we want to surplus that, that's what you're asking.
Yes.
That has to go before the board to surplus that equipment, and then we can put it out for people if they wanna bid on it to, to buy it
well,
for
a
themselves.
church may want it,
Yeah, yeah.
instead of tearing it away.
That's right, yeah. Some of it is not gonna be, I'm not talking about the ship itself, but some of this stuff up there is not even usable,
Right.
But now the ship,
It
that
could
may
be,
be
it
something.
could be
Yeah,
used.
that's right.
It could be used.
Very good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a surplus opportunity. And, you may make a couple $100 or whatever on it, but we have to, vote to surplus that equipment first. And then we had to put it on Gov Deal and let people know they can go and bid on it, so it's like an auction thing. Yeah.
But if we surplus it, it has to, would that mean that it had to go to something outside the city?
No, no. Once we decide as a board to surplus anything, we post it on one of the 2 government sites to sell stuff, and anybody can bid on those items.
We
And
would
so-
be able to ourselves, being aldermen.
Alderman cannot bid on surplus equipment.
Well, could it be put in a different place to be, for lack of anything else, decoration or whatever? It's a,
Yeah. So,
so it doesn't have to be
Yes.
sold.
it doesn't have to be sold. Like I said when I started, it has to be removed from the park to some other place. It could go to Lincoln Park for a little while, because none of that over there is, gonna be disturbed at this point in time. Or we could bring it over here behind City Hall until we decide what we wanna do with it. But that in itself, moving from that park to another place is not a board action. That's not a board action. So as the executive officer with the equipment of the city, I can decide to move that ship out of that park and put it somewhere else in town on public property. However, if it comes to a sale of a piece of equipment, that's a board action. It has to go through the board to be surplus and sold. But, so there's two options. We're not gonna decide them tonight,
I know.
but, yes, we could surplus and sell something, or we could take something out of the park and put it someplace else. But remember one thing, that if you haven't seen that stuff too closely lately, it's a lot of stuff wrong with some of it. And so it's not something we may want kids playing on like it is, because, you know, it's not really built for parks and things like we have. It's more of a home play equipment. So, but it's some issues with it. So, good question. Other questions?
Are we planning on starting in October with this?
Okay, great question. Based on our conference call with our Southwest Development Partners and the state, we'll probably start doing our bid proposals, packages and things like that mid-September. So middle of this month, we'll start putting out the, I guess I don't know what they call them, RFQs or bid packages for someone to bid to put the play equipment in. And so we'll start looking at those products and things about what we may want to put there. So we've got to, because the sketch and all you've seen before, similar to that. And so there'll be an opportunity for people to bid and, you know, that's where it's got to start. But there won't be any dirt disturbed other than things being removed from the park, probably middle to late September. So we got a couple of steps that we had to follow. That's why we have Southwest help us with this. They tell us what we can do when. And so we can stay on track with any kind of construction or demolition and all the appropriate approvals.
When can we expect to see new things, the new starting of the park?
Yeah. I'm saying probably about mid-October, you'll see some dirt work being done. Yeah, because we have to do some dirt work up there, a few things like that. I'd say somewhere between mid-October. It's gonna be about a month. If we start doing the bid packages the middle of September, we're gonna start removing equipment out, you know, middle of September. And so, you know, I'm just guessing at it at this point in time, because I don't really know until we talk to contractors to know, hey, this is when we can deliver. And that's part of the bid package. So they gotta tell us, you know, what we have, when it can be delivered, so.
So this will be completed before the end of the year?
Before the end of December?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it may, very possible. I don't really know the timeline to that detail without ever talking to one of the contractors yet.
Okay.
That's the issue.
Okay, the next question, this may be too much detail, but, the pickleball court and that area, that will be undisturbed.
That's correct. Yeah, yeah.
The fencing and everything would be undisturbed.
Yeah, we won't disturb any of that. Now, one of the things that we do have some issues with that I think, what I was told by the state, the inspector who will be checking our grant project out, the bathrooms there are not ADA compliant, but they understand it's an old facility and they're not going to pick us apart because of the bathroom. But somewhere in the future, we do need to think about our community and people who may have a handicap or may be a little older that have a wheelchair, because it's gonna be a major project to put in ADA bathrooms. But we're not gonna have to do that. So it's the swing sets, pull-up bar, the ship, the, I don't know what the other thing's called, it's like a multi-use play set. Got a slide and all that kind of stuff on. So that's what will be coming out. So, you know, because that substrate where the place set is has to be dug out to a certain depth and has to have a special product on top of it for play, and then they have to come out and do a hit test, which is like a thing they made up like a kid's head, basically, and they drop it from a certain distance in different spots where that base is put to make sure it meets the impact standards for children. Right now, we don't meet any impact standards for anybody, but that's part of that process.
Well, so if we're going to open it up for bid for these pieces, then we would have to do that by the next meeting. Because dirt work starts in October.
No, not necessarily, you don't have to do that. But like I said, the timeline on this is, first of all, we have to send bids out. I gotta send this letter back to the state, that's what I gotta do. Okay, that's the first thing. And then we'll begin preparing a bid package. Southwest will help us with that. They'll get those out, they'll have like 2 weeks or better to get that out, you know. So we'll get things back in. So we'll have a little time in there. So I can't tell you right now when we'll start the project, when we'll end the project, without getting the bids in first. That's gonna dictate on what we can do. Would we like to have it done by end of December? Sure, but you got weather-related issues too. So I don't really know the timeline on that. Okay.
But October we'll be deciding if we're going to put anything out for resale, so to speak. Like the boat, like the
Yeah,
ship.
well, yeah, that October meeting, you'll look at things like, you know, the bids will be open before, well, I say before October. The bids don't go to the board,
Right.
okay?
But I'm not talking about the
Yeah.
bids for the new
Okay.
stuff, I'm talking about the bids if we're gonna put things up for resale, like the
Yeah.
ship.
Yeah, well, yeah, that could very well be done before October. I mean,
Well, we don't meet again until October.
well, that's right, yeah. So well, like I said, it's got, if you're gonna surplus it,
Yeah,
you have to wait till October. But
right.
if you're not gonna surplus it, you don't, so that's what,
Well, you can move it and then
Yeah.
surplus it, right?
yeah, that's right, yeah. We're not really on a timeline to surplus. We don't have to, we
We
don't
have
have to
a
get in a
deadline.
hurry to do that.
Right,
Well,
yeah.
Okay. That a little clearer?
Yep.
All right. Any other questions? It's gonna be a big project. Alderman Reeves is not here. He was working on our Parks Advisory Board that we mentioned a few meetings ago. And I don't know if we've really got anyone lined up for that, but we'll be trying to work on that too, along with what we're doing in the park. All right, so, I'll send that off. Y'all have any other questions about what we're doing? All right. We'll move right here. It doesn't require a vote action because we've already approved X amount of dollars. And so this is just where we ended with what the state has already told us. This is the grant you're gonna receive. And then we said, wait a minute, with this money, we had to make some adjustments, and now we're ready to send it back. They give you a couple of chances along the way that if something comes up, you can make a little slight adjustment. But once it gets on paper like we have here, we're kind of getting down to the end of the road where we gotta do it now. So, it's gonna be locked in, basically, that, you know, it's gonna have to happen. Okay.
Which is good.
Yeah, it should, you're right.
We need a park.
All right, okay, so, a lot of that, let's see, new business, all right. I think I covered most all of that on the park, what we needed to know. I do want to reiterate though, that Lincoln Park, it's not that we're not doing anything, we're just not doing it right this minute. Okay, so we do plan to do some things over there to improve that park as well, but, and that's what we talked about, Plan A and B and some other things, but that's gonna go back to the board to discuss what the long-term project is based on our, system-wide park plan. So we'll get back to that, but the focus right now is gonna be behind the community center, city park, okay? All right, old business, couple things for you real quick. River Day update, I'm gonna let Ms. Bonita give that River Day update for a second. I think y'all saw all of this come in, as you come in to Quilt there, I don't know how, you go ahead.
Yeah, that's a Ruin Dam project, so we're selling, tickets $5 a piece or 5 for 20. And that's to pay for the, kids zone, the bouncy houses and things like that. So y'all buy them.
When does that go until now? Not,
Yes.
Not till River Day?
No, I'm selling them now.
Okay. Good deal.
And, I'm selling ads. They're trickling in. We've done about between $1,400–1,500 in ads so far for the program. Rebecca and I have been working on vendor fees. Can't think of anything else.
Well,
Got
if you're-
posters coming out like crazy.
Yeah, if you're an alderman candidate or a mayor candidate, that you can contact Ms. Benita or Rebecca. We've got a couple of special packages here. You know, we expect some of the aldermen to show up to River Day who are gonna run for election, and mayors that are running for election, shaking some hands. You can walk around, you can do all your politicking on that day. It'll be a great day, a lot of crowd there. If you want to purchase an ad, like a campaign ad out of the booklet, you can call Ms. Benita for that, if you want a campaign ad. And then, if you want to set up a little tent space, so you can have a chair and a table, we'll let the potential candidate set them up a tent. We're gonna have a little thing called the campaign alley. If you wanna do that, you can set up your little tent and table. You don't have to pay for that, that's just an offer for people to come out and meet the candidates and things like that. But you don't have to do any of that. You can just show up and shake hands and tell people to vote for you, and you don't have to do that either if you don't want to. But we're offering the opportunity, so we want to make sure everybody hears that out there on Facebook land as we record this meeting. So, all right, y'all have any questions about Riverdale other than that? Okay. All right. Okay, barbecue festival update, the weekend after River Day. Barbecue festival gonna be in town again at the Saltillo Landing. I don't have a big update for you other than they're coming. And she'll be putting out, Miss Hopper, she'll be putting out her own schedule and stuff, so y'all can follow them on Facebook as well about what's coming up. Be live music on Friday night, I know that. And then there's supposed to be some food to be able to buy, barbecue and things on Friday evening. And then Saturday, like I did last year, I think they have the Taster's Choice around 10, or People's Choice, around 10 o'clock. And they have a couple of other little things to do, but live music on Friday night, come down and get to that. Speaking of live music, we didn't say River Day.
Yeah, we're
The
starting at Friday.
Friday before River Day, there's a little poker run that Friends of Saltillo Landing are doing. And we're gonna have live, no, not live band, I think it's DJ and on the River Landing outdoor where the picnic tables are. So y'all hear more about that, I think a little bit later. I got a couple flyers and things up over here, gonna check that out. All right, let's see, other old business, Brownfield grant update. I'm meeting with another engineer tomorrow, talking about what we're gonna do with that project. Talked to 2 or 3. That grant actually, although we've been awarded, it hasn't opened to be able to submit anything yet. So I'm trying to find a couple of engineers that can help us do all the paperwork and do all those site identification things. So we're a little ways away from that. So I've got a few more things to do. That was just like a $20,000 grant to go back and look at our previous history and where we are today and what challenges may be presented to the city in the future. DRA grant update, that's I think it was $150,000 update, and that is a strategic planning grant that we have applied for, and I think that's gonna be good for the community to go back, kinda like what we did with our park plan, bring a lot of community input in about where we are as a city and where we wanna go, and that looking at some of our capital improvement projects like the community center, some of our preventative maintenance programs, fire protection, police protection. We're gonna ask the water department to come in and join us in some discussion on the strategic plan, because we're a growing community. And we've got, more and more people coming to town, and I think the water department needs to be part of that, the same way as same way as the sheriff department needs to be part of that plan. And the county fire department needs to be part of that plan. So that's gonna, we got West Tennessee Planning is going to help us pull that program together as the grant is awarded. Okay. Any questions about any of those items? Okay. All right, so we'll hear more in October. Do want to give you a brief mayor's report before we get into our finance stuff. So I went to a Hardin County Health Council meeting this last week, and we're still trying to promote and recruit some type of medical office here in town. We'd like to see, maybe a small practice. We've got a building we've tried to rent before a few years, and things haven't worked out. So this group, I think, may help us a little bit. So if you got connections or friends or knowledge of it, that we got a building that's not being used. And I think it would be great for our community if we could find a candidate similar to what we had with Lifespan some years ago. So we may have some more help now that I'm going to this Health Council Commission. And the state health department was there. They understand the need and they want to try to help us as well. Team Hardin, I got to do that this week. That's the mayors of Hardin County and a few other people like the TCAT Center and tourism folks and Chamber of Commerce folks will be at that meeting. Sheltering Tree Ranch is going to be in here October the 12th. I was going to ask the board how they felt about renting a porta potty for the riders in this fundraiser. It's like $145 or so. We can wait till the 1st of October to get more feedback. I don't know if y'all are opposed to that. We did it last year. So it's a motorcycle ride. They'll be here about 11 o'clock on October 12th. Yeah.
Is that the same day that the fire department's having like an open house or something?
It may be, but these riders are only here just for, 30, 40 minutes, yeah. But it may be, I don't know, I don't have enough information about what the fire department's doing on their open house at this time. I don't have it in front of me, but it may be on the same day.
If I remember correctly, we paid like $245 for a porta potty.
For
And we
one,
had- For one.
I don't think so.
Well,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But if that is at the same time, then, and they're having open house, for us to have the riders here instead of the river, because they're only there for 30, 40 minutes, then that would be a good showing for our fire department, and then we wouldn't have to rent porta potties. Because we
Well,
rented 2 last time.
This is a request from Sheltering Tree Ranch
Right.
to have the meetup at the river. That's their request. So
Well,
what
that's
I'm hearing
because-
you say, you want me to call them back and say, no, we don't want you to go to the river, we want you to come to the fire.
I think that because we set it up to be at the river before, they're just repeating what we offered before. But I don't know that it wouldn't be a good thing, I mean, that's a suggestion,
Well,
that
I mean,
we wouldn't have to rent, we wouldn't be out.
I'm not set on either one myself, but when they called me directly, this is what they asked for. And so that's why I was, and we can discuss this again October the 1st to make a final decision, because we're not all here to voice our opinions and vote on
Okay,
it.
when is that, when do they come, October what?
October the 12th, I think is what I said, was it?
Yeah.
October,
I couldn't remember.
October 12th, around 11 o'clock. And porta potties run about $145 if you just get the porta potty for a day. That's what they told me. All right, so anyway, we'll come back to that on October the 1st, I guess. And you want me to call them and ask them if they'd rather just come here when we got the
Well, I
doors
mean,
open?
I think that would be a good thing for the city, for them to come here. We've got more people, you've got, I don't know what their plan is, if they're gonna have refreshments or sodas, but we always have sodas and water and snacks down there, so that we could have it here. I don't think they care if it's at the water or not, cause that's just where we've had it before, and they're just documenting.
David, did you ride in it last year?
I did not ride in it, just personally speaking, when you do go on a ride, you wanna see things like ride up to the edge of the river and just hang out there for a little while.
And I don't think everyone shows up at the same time.
Right,
do they?
it's kinda, yeah.
It's an annual fundraiser event.
It's
This is
almost
one of
a
those
turnaround and just a stopping point kinda thing.
Well, they came and gone within less than 45 minutes,
Okay.
all of them, last year.
Okay. All right, okay. Tomorrow, there'll be a Highway 69 road safety audit meeting. Actually gonna be 2 of those. I've gotta be online at a meeting tomorrow morning, and then I think the next week, we're gonna meet at the community center. TDOT Highway 69 from Bingham Creek all the way down to the Decatur County line is what they're gonna be talking about. We've got some data on the wrecks and things that have happened in the last 3 years. So I don't know what's gonna come out of this meeting or the audit, but I did request a few things to be considered. One is Half Moon Lake entrance is not TDOT approved, never has been. I wanted to maybe look at that and see what they can help us with that. Also, that we've got some issues at Handy Corner, where the old store is going out 104, some issues in that area. And then we have some issues with Highway 69 between Main Street and Citizen Street. In that dip, there's no edge to the road, and we got a lot of people that walk down the road and they can't get out of the street, you know, and some of the big trucks that come through there, the logging trucks, is, you know, probably not the most safest thing for people to be walking out there on that edge. And then some grass cutting issues that maybe not be a danger thing so much, but if you've been out 69 lately, it looks like it needs to be addressed, and that's a state issue. They cut that. We're not able to cut that far out. Don't have the equipment. Anyway, the fire department not here to provide us anything tonight, and I didn't have anything before the meeting, so I can't tell you much about the fire department tonight. All right, let's look at the finance for a second. All right, so finance, here you have in front of you this month. There's some anomalies here that you need to be aware of. If you look at the last page, it appears that we have spent more money than we brought in. And so let me just let you know, it says $12,666, something like that. When we got our fire department grant, we got those revenues in a 23 budget. So when we started spending the money, it come out of 24 budget. So on paper, it looks a little funny that we spent that much money over what our revenues are. So it'll work itself out in the end, but we will have to do a budget amendment. And Ms. Vanita and I talked about that a little bit, when we're gonna need to do some of those. We didn't do many budget amendments last year, but that's the rationale behind why we're so far in the hole, it appears, for the current year to date. Y'all have any questions about that specifically? And so otherwise, you know, we haven't received a lot of property tax revenue as of yet, because, you know, it just started over. So you'll see that increase as the year goes on. Certainly when February comes around, you'll start seeing a little bit more of that. We've had a couple of bills come due. I'm looking at page 1 right now. Professional services. So we pay for professional services for a couple of things. One is a park plan, and one is Southwest Development. Well, Southwest Development went up a few $100s on us, so we didn't budget near enough this year. We didn't know we was gonna get an increase from Southwest Development, so we're a little over. So that's why you're showing a little bit in the hole on that one. Let's see, I think that was only the two major things. Everything else is kind of a normal month, with the exception that we just had to purchase an air conditioner for the police department, because the one they had is no longer working, and that's why it looks like I've been punched in the face, because though they're working on it today, and I got hit in the face with a piece of brick coming out of the wall. So $1,000 on the air conditioner. Miss Kay over there, she couldn't sit in there with these 100-degree days. So air conditioner they had was only a few years old, but it didn't have a warranty, and couldn't get it fixed. So it's a window unit type thing. So we had to buy a new air conditioner. We weren't planning on spending that $1,000 this month, but we did. All right. Any other questions about your expenditures and revenue report? Oh yeah, the police department lease for our equipment. So we did that a little later on. You'll see that, I think, on page 2.
Is that where lease of equipment?
Yeah, lease of the tasers and body cam. That is under, it should say lease. It's page 2, about in the middle of the page. Ends with the numbers 20204.
Yeah.
So that's a 5-year lease, which segues into my next topic. All right, y'all have any additional questions?
Is our street lighting that runs around $1,100 or so a month, is that been a constant? Has there been any increase in all the street lights that the city pays for? Huh, it has?
Yeah, been a little increase. Also, we added some lights also. I can't tell you the number. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, it's gone up a couple of $100s for the additions, because we were paying around 9. between 9,950, so we're over 1,000 now.
Yeah, we added, like in the Davies Landing area, that's part of their plan of services when we started all of that. And so we put in 4 streetlights, 2 in each section. What the plan of services was, I think it was 4 in each section, but we just haven't done that much yet, because it's not anybody living out there permanently or part-time or anything, so, but we did try to light up a couple of important areas. Okay? Good question.
This is a question, may have been on last time, I didn't see it. The culverts that we put in Half Moon, is that in this month, or was that in last month?
That was in last month,
Okay.
and the way that project worked is that we asked the county to help us with that, because the county's been doing some maintenance on that road. So the city paid for the actual culvert, and the county helped put it in. Of course, the water company had to come out, they had to help us too, because we hit a line out there that we didn't know it was, well, they didn't know it was where it was either, so it's just, some of our old lines run kinda strange, but, they've been taking care of that road some, but, our roads commissioner helped us out to get that done, 'cause we didn't have the equipment to do it, we'd have had to pay some other contractor, but they helped.
But the road is deeded to the county, right, or not?
Well, that's a little dispute, I think, between the city and the county about who's really responsible for all that, because we annexed that property some years ago, and we annexed all of it. And so, the county, over a period of years, they would, and they still have on their record that they put gravel on a certain number of feet in that area. They don't take care of all the little roads, but, when we talk about the county helping with a road that actually lies completely within the city, that's a little issue that we're trying to resolve. I've talked to Wesley Gerald a few times, the roads commissioner, about that issue, because a lot of places we have, the county takes care of the road because we only have one side of the street.
Right.
So when we annexed Davies Landing, that we annexed it all, but they have been helping us keep gravel on the road. The issue is that now the whole thing is in the city, and the roads, when they were built, were not built to any state standard. And so they really don't want to claim it too much, and I don't think the city wants to claim the roads too
You're
much.
talking
because-
Davies Landing,
I
not,
mean, not David Landing, but, well, David Landing.
talking about
yet to be
Half Moon
inspected. Half
Lake.
Moon, yeah, Half Moon. So that's an issue with with the road not meeting a standard. So that's where the issue's gonna be.
is the road in the county or not? Is
The road is in
deeded
the
to
city.
Okay, so was never deeded to the county? The
Well, I
Half
don't know
Moon
the
Lake
I don't know the
Road,
answer to that, but what I do know, that road lies completely within the city limits. Now, when you annex a property, don't mean you have to take on the road. That's where the county comes in. We don't have to accept the road because it wasn't built to standard. But what do? You're gonna have to do something eventually. So, there's some issues back and forth about that. Same thing's gonna be a subject of Davies Landing. We gave them 5 years before we take over the roads out there. So right now, the developer's responsible for it. And so, that road hasn't been inspected yet to see if it even meets state standards. So that's gonna be probably an issue.
But on that, don't we, the city is only have to keep them as they leave them after the 5 years? We don't have to go blacktop it because
That's right.
it wasn't blacktop before,
That's
right?
correct, that's correct. So, in a scenario with Davies Landing specifically,
Yeah.
when that was annexed, we told them specifically about the road, the developer and all that. We will accept the roads in 5 years, but they had to meet the standard. And beyond that, we don't have to do anything above what that standard is. So we don't have to go in there and blacktop. Half Moon's a little different issue because those roads were never built to a standard to start with. And they were never inspected. They were just went in there and, put gravel down and made a path, basically. So there's some issues that you're probably gonna hear about again in the future, because I know some folks in Half Moon area are very concerned about the levee across the pond. And I've been out there a bunch of times, and I try to go up there fairly regularly to see the condition of it, but it's in the city. So, as of right now, to go back to Ms. Woods, Alderman Woods' question, is that on the books, although that road is in the city, the county has data that shows that they have been keeping up with a certain amount of feet on the road. Not the entire complex over there, but part of the road.
So both sides of the road are in the city, in Half Moon Lake.
Both sides of a
Of the
couple of
road.
roads. There's another road that's not actually in, I think it's Easy Walk Lane. I may not be calling that name right, but that one's not in the city at all. We had to do some things with the property tax on that. That's, yeah, so this is a little more complicated than just saying if it's in the city or not because of the history of it. But the whole thing in Davies, in Half Moon is in the city. Most of it is. But when you get over to the edge of the creek, Doe Creek, that's what it's called, right? Doe Creek. It's not all in the city there. So when we started doing tax payments, we had to do some adjustments out there because it wasn't drawn out. So, yeah. All right, that's a lot of stuff there that we can meditate on and come back another day. All right, account balances. We got way off track on Monday. Account balance. If you look at that page for a second, you can see that we have $283,405.01 in the account funds. And so, what I want to, I guess, discuss briefly with you tonight, because we can't act on anything, that if you look at the ARPA funds, we have $71,401.75. So, once we take out our matching park of that, $44,000, we're gonna have about $27,400 left in that ARPA funds. So we will need to decide on some things about how we move forward with that fund, and if we want to keep any reserve for any kind of park overage or ADA compliance issues that we may run into, and what we want to do to cover maybe our wish list or any other expenses that we have, such as the lease we got on police equipment. This board may go back and decide, hey, we would rather just pay off this police equipment so we don't have to have that lease over 5 years. I don't know. So those discussions, I think, need to come up in October, and we have to be actionable on, because this ARPA money is not going to sit there forever. We've got to spend it, and we've already had some discussion prior about where we wanted to spend it. Some of that was parks, and some of that was other things. You should have a wish list thing in front of you, that some discussion we had prior. Y'all want to discuss any of it right now? We can't vote on anything, but if you have an opinion about any of it, we can discuss it. All right.
This is a wish list for the rest of the,
This wish list came up about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When the money came in, and we had a lot of discussion at the board meeting about, if we had opportunity with a grant or whatever, this is some things that we might want to do. A couple things have already been done here. For instance, the siren, $18,000, we already spent that out of that ARPA fund before. So this is an old list. So some of these things on this list may have already been accomplished. But I've just given that to you to remind you that there was a list there about some things that were discussed. One or two of them may say pre-approved, because we've done some of those and met and had some opinion about it. But bottom line is, we need to kind of finalize the remaining amounts of this ARPA funds. So just to let you know, $44,000 is coming out of that fund for the parks. That's in the grant. We have to meet that expectation. All right. So whatever's left, we can discuss that and make some motions in a future meeting. But I would be careful as you think about it, which direction you want to go, because you're only going to have one shot at it. This money isn't going to be, we've got I think it was 2025, we have to have it spent. If I'm not, I may be close. I think that's right. Okay.
can that money, the remaining 27,000, can that be earmarked, for, potential grant for sidewalks to the river? Or does that have to be
Yeah.
actually spent?
Well, if you designate it to be applied toward a grant, you get a little bit more time. And so there are some CDBG grants coming up, and so that may be an opportunity. So that's a great question. Either you gotta have it, I'm not sure what the correct word there is, it's not earmarked, it's another word that we have to report what we're spending the money on for the ARPA.
And
So if
that
we get
stands.
it embargoed or whatever in a certain grant, that, we got a little bit more time, but you remember what the word was on that? Yeah, but anyway, so we got some options, but we are gonna have to decide kind of what direction we're gonna go. We don't want to lose what's there, because if we don't meet a deadline, for spending it, we're gonna have to return it.
I think when we first were looking at the ARP money, one of the things was sidewalk, or no, you can't call it a sidewalk, whatever they call
Walking
it.
trail.
Walking trail.
Trail, yeah.
Walking trail, that we could, it would probably be 80% match, or up to 100% match. That was on the list when we started the grant process.
Yeah, and there are some grants coming out that are no match, and there are some grants that are 20% and things like that. So West Tennessee Planning and Southwest Development are helping us with that. So as you think about it through the next, month or two, that, we need to be really mindful of what is a priority for the community. We had a park plan, it identifies all the priorities. And we've had a lot of meetings about things we've discussed. So, I'm thinking talking to people in the community about other things that we may have on our mind that, wouldn't be a bad idea. But, we've already talked about a bunch of stuff in previous meetings, so, like I said, best thing I can tell you is that we've got some decisions to make about that fund. And so October the 1st, hopefully we have, some opportunity to make some decisions and, move from there. Okay. All right. One good thing about Saltillo is that we don't really owe anybody any money. We're in good standing. We, do have a lease out there that we're able to cover, with our budget. We're not like some municipalities and utility districts. We don't have to, put up a building to borrow money to pay for something. We're in good shape financially, and we want to keep it that way. And I appreciate you all being good stewards of city revenues and the things that we do thoughtfully, and the discussion that we have about those things. All right. Any more about the finance part of it? All right. So, any alderman have a report that you'd like to make before we adjourn?
I would just like to, so that we are planning on having the Halloween on Main Street again this year, if anybody wants to set up.
Okay. Halloween on Main Street, so.
On the
yeah,
31st?
Yeah,
31st.
Halloween.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good, more activity, more fun for the friends and family and neighbors and things like that. It's great. So are you gonna be the point person on that? Okay, good deal, okay. Appreciate it.
Karen and I will both be working on this.
Okay, awesome, sounds good. Just a real quick update on the election, any other alderman, on election update stuff that, let's see, early voting, October 16th through 31st. I think you gotta go all the way to the county, seat in Savannah to do that. And of course, election day is November the 5th. That is a board meeting day. So October the 1st, we may want to discuss having a meeting on that day or not. It's on election day, so, we need to make a decision. I mean, we have a meeting every first Tuesday. That's established. But, the board can make decisions to, based on election day, to do something different, but,
Can we just not have a meeting?
You could, but, you know, I'm gonna have to show up for the meeting anyway if we don't say we're gonna cancel it and vote on it. So if the board votes to cancel that meeting on the November the 5th, we just won't have a meeting because of election day. But if you don't vote to cancel it, I'm gonna have to be here, but none of y'all have to come, because I just have to say nobody showed up for the meeting, we didn't have a quorum or whatever. So there's some options there too, but, we just need to decide so we can communicate to the community, we're having a meeting or not. This is a big election year, not only for the city, but for the, federal government, so, anyway. All
So
right,
that would have to be put in the newspaper though, that we weren't having a meeting.
yeah, it'd be the best thing to do, right, based on what our charter says, yeah. All right, anything else? Without hearing any, I will entertain a motion for an adjournment. Oh, that's right, can't do a motion. We will suspend this meeting until the next meeting. We can suspend it, we
Yeah,
can't.
October
October the 1st, suspend it to October the 1st. All right, thank you for catching me on that, all right. Thank you all for coming. Look forward to seeing you around town.